guys, my name is Rory, and you are listening to Rory's Room, the podcast where we discuss anything and everything life throws at us. Welcome to Season 3 More Than Just a Job. I am sitting down with creatives and professionals who are chasing and shaping the work that they have always wanted to do. This season is all about sharing different perspectives from different fields and revealing just how those paths might have changed them along the way. This week, we are wrapping up our conversation with screenwriter and filmmaker Adam Smith. If you haven't listened to part 1 of Adam's episode, I recommend you do so prior to this segment. That being said, let's enter Rory's room. I love buying DVDs. I've always loved buying DVDs. There's just something about that, like having the physical copy, especially in like modern day times where everything's on streaming. And I bought Olivia and Rose on DVD like as soon as I watched it, just because it was one of my favorite things. But I feel like buying physical copies isn't just for the aesthetic, but like also for like just to have them as a keepsake or like nostalgia, like especially said being with like everything on streaming, even though you can easily just like turn on Netflix and watch something. I don't know, it just doesn't hit the same, you know? They
can also edit those on streaming. That's what I make that point a lot. There's a couple Simpsons episodes that are considered controversial to Disney, and Disney has edited those scenes out of their episodes, which I'm fine with that because there's enough Simpsons to watch, and you know, I don't miss those episodes, but they can do that with movies too. And who's to say that they haven't been doing that to the movies on their streaming platforms? When you have it on physical, they're not really editing that at all. So you have it and you actually own it opposed to streaming.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's a couple references to Michael Jackson in the show that they removed from Disney. And I'm okay with those jokes being removed, but it's just the whole principle of them being able to edit something that's 20 or 30 years old.
Censorship,
can't really get behind that.
Yeah, I didn't even know they could do that. Personally, like one of my favorite things about owning DVDs is like, I don't know, personally this might be a nostalgic thing, but like being able to use the remote and like switch between like the different menus where it's like extra scenes, or like if you're pausing a movie and you can go to that, what is it? It's like the menu where it like lets you go to like each different frame and go back to where you were. I don't know. It's for some reason, I've never owned this on DVD, but for some reason the movie that comes to mind when I'm thinking about that is Matilda. Mm-hmm. Probably because we watch it in like elementary school or something, but I don't know. I just love that.
Yeah. Blu-rays and 4Ks have kind of went away from special features in the past couple years, but DVDs still include all of that, so I try to keep DVDs for that reason. Shrek 2 is my favorite menu ever. There's a American Idol that Shrek 2 does that's really cool, and you can only see it having the DVD.
So many like Christmas movies and like animated movies on DVD. Have you seen Rango?
I have seen Rango. That director actually just released a new movie last weekend.
What was it called?
Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. That's his first movie in I think 10 to 12 years, and apparently it's just as psychotic as all of his other movies, which is a good thing.
Absolutely, that's amazing. I didn't even know that, so I'll have to watch that. My partner really loves Rango, but just like with the directing style, I know he's gonna like this movie too.
Yeah, it seems really fun. I haven't got to see it yet, but it looks really good.
Did you ever have a VHS player growing up?
It's funny, I actually have a VHS TV in my kitchen right now, and I've been collecting VHSs this year, and it keeps me cooking bigger dinners because I'll sit there and put a movie on and I'll cook. And I just watched Wag the Dog the other night, which is pretty topical for our current political climate, but I have about 50 or 60 VHS now just sitting in my kitchen.
Have you seen Jojo Rabbit?
I have seen Jojo Rabbit. It's very good.
When I watched that for the first time, my jaw was literally on the floor. I'm going to assume you know exactly what scene I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so cute. And then I saw the shoes and I was like, oh my God. I literally was like tearing up. I was just so shocked though. That's a good movie, but like, you guys aren't ready to talk about that yet. But yeah, I definitely know what you mean with the VHS. We had one in our kitchen when I was growing up, and one of the fondest memories that I have from my childhood is watching Batman, like I think it's Batman Returns, on our boxy TV, even though it scared the absolute crap out of me. For some reason, I thought that our bathtub faucet, it looked like the Penguin for somehow like shape, or like I thought that I could see his reflection in the like faucet because it was like silver. Mm-hmm. And so I like, in order to get me in the bathtub as a kid, I had to be like manhandled because like I would like kick and scream like I didn't want to go in there. So like that's still one of my fondest memories, but it was absolutely terrifying for me. I don't even know how old I was. Maybe like 8, maybe. I don't even know when Batman Returns came out. Probably long before I was 8, but
Yeah, late 90s, I believe.
yeah. But other than that, like we had, I think it was either connected. I don't think it was connected, but we also had like a place where we could put like tapes in. And we would always, the only way that we'd actually do the dishes and have fun with it is if we turned on like, I wish I knew what it was called, but it was like a really upbeat jazz tape, and it was actually so good. We always thought it was so amazing. And then it actually, I think it was like placebo effect for sure, but we were like working on like 2 times speed. I don't know. I just think that there's just something good about like physical copies, and especially like, I mean, with this AI and stuff, like you said, like with editing and stuff too, like you never know what is actually happening behind closed doors for streaming. So I just have a good peace of mind knowing that they're not gonna come into my house and like edit my tapes.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't put it past them, but
I wish more independent productions would consider doing DVDs and Blu-rays, because I have a friend that did a documentary last year, and a documentary I would have never watched if his name wasn't attached to it, but then I saw that he was selling a Blu-ray version of it, so I bought it. And it's on my shelf just simply because I wanted to support him and to have another piece of physical media that most people don't have.
do they still like do that?
You can, it's getting to the point where it's just too expensive.
Yeah, no one really buys it.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
I want to get more, but right now my current craze is books. Like I'm trying to build like a home library. That's been nice. I've been reading a lot this year, which I'm really thankful for. And I've actually found that it really inspires me to write and feel more creative. And it's really refreshing because I felt like I was in like a 8-year, like maybe like even more than 8 years, maybe like a decade-long creative block where I couldn't like paint, write, like make anything without like either being way too critical about like a word in the sentence or something, or how something was worded, or just not be able to think of like ideas whatsoever.
School also hurts your creative drive a lot because you're so focused on prioritizing your schoolwork, and a lot of times it doesn't take a lot of creative, energy to do your schoolwork.
Absolutely, which is why I'm so thankful that I have all the time this semester. Like I only have like 1 in-person class, and like the rest is online, so I can like maneuver my schedule the way I want to, which is why my schedule is so packed with this podcast, because I'm like filling my entire schedule with like interviews and filming and making interview questions. And it's for the first like week or so that it was this month, it was like so draining, but I think I'm not kind of like in the pep of the step, so it's been fun. It's been really fun, and I can't wait to see how this turns out. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of work behind the scenes, and I don't know. What's one thing that you can get behind, Adam?
Right now, there is a country artist that I really like. His name is Sturgill Simpson, but he now goes by Johnny Blue Skies as of like 2 years ago. And he announced last week his new album that he is not releasing on streaming, and he's only releasing on physical. So that's vinyl, tape, and CD. And CD and tape already sold out, and I ordered a vinyl because I just wanted to get in on that. But it's really nice to know that artists are going up against streaming right now, and because at the end of the day, a lot of them are not making money off streaming. So it's nice to know that there's someone with a big enough name making that effort. So I can get behind his push to do that.
I've been like doing research lately, trying to support like my author friends. Like, and the first thing you think of, like, of course, is like Barnes and Noble or like any big store like that. And I actually found out from like one of my friends who recently helped release a book that authors usually only get like 25 cents per book from Barnes and Noble, which is absurd in my opinion. Like, of course, like it's nice to have copies at Barnes and Noble to get like visibility and people buying it. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Barnes and Noble. But like in terms of like getting the author their own profit, that kind of sucks. So personally, I would just buy it from them if they had like that option, That's something that I don't think is talked about enough. But I'll save that for when we talk to our authors in this season. I'm very happy that they're putting more stuff on physical copies too.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell, like, I don't know, personally it's just like a thing with me. Like I love having that copy, like I said.
Yeah, and I mean, I always put a vinyl on whenever I'm cleaning house, and I feel like it makes cleaning house more fun than what it actually is.
Yeah, it feels more authentic too. I mean, like, you can easily ignore it when you're on streaming, but I don't know, there's just something about like if you have to hit pause and hitting that key on the physical copy, it's just so much nicer than just tapping your screen and hitting pause, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I actually have this, the old school DVD players that you would bring in your car, the little laptop looking ones.
Yes.
I bring one with me on every job because I never know if the hotel room that I get has a TV. So I have that and a sleeve of DVDs that stays in my car. And I'm always watching something on long drives or something like that. It's always really fun.
We used to have like an entire book of those things. Like it would be like thick of just like pages of DVDs where it's like 2 on each page.
Yep.
We had Rugrats and so many movies that a lot of people don't actually know about. Like there was like My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Oh yeah.
You heard of that?
Oh yeah.
So good. But like it surprised me, like coming up, like growing up and like being an adult and people never hearing about any of these movies. Like it also made me realize that like even though when you're a kid you think everything you watch is like a famous movie, like everyone should watch it. Yeah. Not everybody watches the same movies, which is crazy.
Well, it's like hearing all the older people in your life talk about shows that you don't know about, and then you do the same thing, and you're like, damn, am I getting old?
Yes, exactly.
Because I was talking about Ned's Declassified School Survivor Guide recently in a read, and there was like 15 of us, and only 2 of us knew about it, and we were both the only ones under the age of 30. So we were just like, that explains it.
Aging is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I was like both simultaneously 8 and 18 in like the last like 4 years. And now I'm 24, so it's like 6 years since I was 18, which really kind of makes me want to throw up. But like also in a good way. Like I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday when I was getting ready for bed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like 1 year from the stereotypical age where my frontal lobe develops fully, and I was like, I feel like I can feel more cognitive, and it freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I think also COVID and just the political climate in the past 10 years has aged us 30 years. Yeah,
100%.
So that doesn't
yes,
help.
Absolutely. And one thing I can't get behind, I think it all has like the same theme, but like the hate behind low budget or quote unquote cringy films. And like, you've heard of Tubi, right? I feel like people before I actually really started looking into Tubi, I was like, oh, it's like cringy movies. Like there are some really cringy movies on Tubi. Like I saw Titanic 2. Titanic 2 is all about, don't sue me director, but it's all about the entire plot of Titanic, except there's ghosts on the ship. Well, no, that may be Titanic 3.
There's a third one?
Yeah, the Titanic 3 is about paranormal activity on the Titanic. Also the same plot as the regular Titanic, but the second one... I
have Titanic right there signed.
Love Titanic. I used to watch it so much as a kid, like, and just restart it when I finished it. But Titanic 2 is literally the same plot as Titanic 1, except there's a damsel in distress instead of Rose, and the hero is her ex-boyfriend, who always is in the frame with 2 girls on each of his arms. And get this, he's also the director.
Oh, of course. I always say Tubi is the best streaming service now because not only is it free, but on March 1st, they're getting the whole Cartoon Network catalog. Yeah, so like they're going out of their way to cater to the people that they know are watching on their network. They're not Netflix and HBO Max that kind of just does as they please and chases the money and chases big productions. Tubi is just taking everything that no other streaming service wants, and that's kind of what we want too. We want to watch all those shows from our childhood.
Exactly, and I feel like I found recently that like a few of the people that I was gonna intern with in Milwaukee put their shows on Tubi. Like if they're like low budget or something, it's an easy way to get your foot in the door. And I feel like not even that, but like if you view Tubi as quote unquote cringy, it also dates back to like the questions we had about how much work actually goes into producing it. Like it's not easy. So like creating it in itself is just incredible, first of all, but like to putting it on streaming services, that's also not easy. So like getting their foot in the door with Tubi is an excellent way to start out for independent filmmakers.
There's a guy in Milwaukee, his name is Swift Sloan, and he goes by Sloan Motion Pictures, and he specifically produces films for Tubi, and Tubi at this point pays him every year to do a couple features, and he shoots them entirely in Milwaukee. So
Swift Motion Pictures, right?
And there's a lot of my peers that go out of their way to reserve that time every year to work with him, because not only is he easy to work with, but it's going to go on a streaming service no matter what. They know it's going to go on Tubi, sitting in that state of purgatory where it's waiting to see where it's going to go, if it even goes anywhere outside of YouTube and Facebook.
Right.
So it's really nice to have that as another lifeline, especially until it's not feasible, because most streaming services do get to that point where they kind of cut the middleman out and they
Yeah.
go solo.
It's unfortunate that a lot of stuff is so, I mean, I get it. Capitalism, like there's method behind the madness, but there's just something about how money is such a priority and drives literally everything that it really upsets me that like I even talked in like my last podcast that maybe not the one that directly before this if you're listening, but I just talked to someone about how money drives literally everything, and so people don't do nice things for each other anymore because they have other priorities, and usually getting money is at the top of their list. So it's like I really admire small businesses, and not small businesses of course, but like small platforms like Tubi that really cater to the independent filmmaker.
Yeah, Letterboxd is also doing I forget what it's called, the movie rental store, but they're taking
Redbox?
Letterboxd, and it's usually where people go and review movies, but they launched this thing in January, and it's like the movie rental store, I think that's what it's called, but they're taking movies that did have huge success at market, like film festivals that didn't get picked up for streaming, and you can rent it through Letterboxd, and they've had a lot of success this year with a lot of indie features that nobody can really watch outside of festivals because they get tied to contracts or they don't get into streaming.
I always love watching films at film festivals. Like one time I did, this wasn't at a film festival, but we had the person who runs the Beloit Film Festival come into my screenwriting class, Holly Wilson. And she's a professor at UW-Whitewater and a screenwriter and an author. And she brought this person in and he had us like review the movies that were going to be at the Beloit Film Festival that year. And I think it was like for the 2025 year. Or yeah, it sounds about right. But there was this one, I couldn't remember it, like what it's called. And I couldn't find it on Google whatsoever. But it was about this woman who went to work in a car dealership and all of the employees were puppets, like Muppets, and it was amazing, but it was simultaneously the most unhinged thing I've ever seen. Literally had everybody laughing, but like their jaws were on the floor. If someone would ever find that for me, I would literally like pay them.
With the Muppets being back, Muppets and puppets are like totally in right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just saw that they made a new Muppets movie, maybe like this year or the last year with Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, so they're calling that the proof of concept, and depending on how successful it was, they're going to launch an actual season out of it. And it ended up breaking all the records that Disney ever had when it came to original premieres. So I don't think it's official, but I think they're going to go through with doing a full season with the Muppets now, with a celebrity guest each episode.
With like a different celebrity guest?
Yeah, and it's really
That's
good.
smart.
Kermit and Sabrina have a cover of, what's the Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers song? Island in the Sun? Or Island in the Street. Yeah, and it's such a good cover.
Have you seen that movie yet?
Yeah.
I love the rivalry between Miss Piggy and Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Personally, to me,
I like how they're also not scared to make those jokes for the adults that are also watching with their kids that kids might not understand, because
yeah,
that is a lost art form ever since, TV shows left cable TV. It feels like you're either catered to kids under 7 or you're catered to kids over 15. There's no meat in the middle. There's no jokes for the kids that are, in between that. And I think it's fun to hear those slightly inappropriate jokes because SpongeBob did it so well for so long.
Yeah. I just talked to your partner about Bluey. It's not the same. They don't have inappropriate jokes, of course. But I feel like it is catered to both kids and adults because I watch it all the time. And there's so deep messages in Bluey. Have you seen Bluey?
I haven't seen, I've seen enough through my partner, but I do know that a lot of parents cried at the finale recently and it was really good.
I cry at like every single episode of Bluey. I'll turn it on after I like watch something scary or like really sad, and I was like, okay, I'll turn on Bluey, and then it'll have like some really meaningful message, and I'll just like be like silently crying. It's like.
Have you seen The Wild Robot?
I don't think so.
Oh, so 2 years ago now, it was the day after the election, and we were just like, let's stop doom scrolling. We're just mad. We're looking at our phone. We're looking at the TV. Everything is the exact same thing that we don't want to see. So let's go to the movies and let's check out. Let's not look at our phones for a couple hours. They had a movie there by Robert Zemeckis with Tom Hanks, and I forget her name, the wife also from Forrest Gump. But I really wanted to see this movie, and then I looked at the trailer and I was just like, I don't really want to cry today. Because I cry at like 90% of the movies I watch.
Me too.
So I saw the cartoon and I was like, let's watch that. And it had Pedro Pascal's name on it. So I was like, even better, let's watch that. So we sat down and watched it and I cried the entire movie. It's so good.
I feel like being in a relationship and like having pets, people who depend on us, personally, I feel like that makes me more of an emotional person.
Mm-hmm.
So like in movies where like something like meaningful will happen, it doesn't even have to be sad, but like I will cry. Or like we just watched John Wick, or I should say my partner watched John Wick. I watched the scene where the dog died and I said turn it off and I left the room because I was like, I cannot do this, as I was laying right next to all of our 4 cats. And I was like, I swear to God, if anyone came in, I would turn into John Wick too.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
That scene was brutal.
Yeah. I haven't watched the last one. I've seen the first 3, but I haven't seen the 4th one.
But there was only 3.
Or I haven't seen the
recently.
3rd one then. Whatever the most recent one was, I haven't seen that one yet.
When did that one come out?
Like 3 years ago?
I don't think I've seen that either. I thought the last one came out in like 2021 or something.
Yeah, there was one after the pandemic that they did, and I don't think it did as well as the other ones. But also, no movie has done really well since the pandemic, besides Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I feel like movie theaters became kind of obsolete after the pandemic because everyone was at home.
Yeah.
I don't even know if movie theaters were open for a while in the pandemic, like even if you had masks on.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic especially, I feel like that's when streaming services really started kicking off because everyone was at home. And I've heard good and bad things for like artists during the pandemic. Like there's the people who were at home, small creators finally having the time to make their stuff. And then there's big corporations that actually work with arts and film and they take the brunt of everything. You know, it's a spectrum, of course, like how the pandemic affected creatives, but I feel like movie theaters definitely took a big hit.
Well, it doesn't help when a movie, say Marty Supreme, that's the big hit right now that's in the theaters still. That came out on Christmas Day, and then by January 10th or January 15th, Amazon was already allowing you to rent it from home. And that kind of takes away the whole magic of what a movie theater is. You go there because you can't see it anywhere else, but Amazon has kind of ruined that, and it looks like Netflix is on their way to doing the same thing.
Have you seen Iron Lung yet?
I haven't. I really wanted to. I think it's still in theaters.
Maybe. There's a big controversy because, as a lot of you may know, Markiplier self-funded that movie. He did all of that by himself, and he made the money back, a lot more. Like, it was like 10 times the amount. Last time I checked, it was like 7 times, so I can only imagine that it surpassed that. But because it was self-funded, I think it was like IMDb wouldn't recognize that was one of the top movies or something. I can't remember if it was IMDb or something, but it would constantly be taken down as number 1 and surpassed by like Melania or whatever else was in theaters. And it was really making everyone mad because it was doing so good, but it wasn't getting the recognition that it deserved.
Probably because he's not some kind of donor to that website, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I think that's ridiculous. Like, makes me so mad as a filmmaker. And especially as someone who, like, I don't think I'd ever be a good actor because I can't fake how I feel about someone. So if I don't like you, you will know.
Yeah.
Which is a difficult feature to have. But honestly, I'm proud of it. But, like, it just really makes me mad. Like, that you have to suck up to someone to get sometimes good experiences and good ratings and become popular. And especially in like the art field, I feel like that's the way you make money. So like is being popular. So
yeah.
It's a difficult way. What's one thing you can't get behind, Adam?
I've noticed in the past, probably the past year, but a lot of filmmaker groups, art groups / places where artists hang out using AI to promote the event opposed to using the people that's theirs work. Like there's a couple groups in Milwaukee that use AI for their bulletins and their flyers when there's 50 filmmakers in that group that they could just ask for on-set photos from. And I think it kind of undercuts a lot of the people that are trying to fight against the whole AI initiative, because you're never going to avoid it, but there are places that you shouldn't cut those corners. I saw a post yesterday about, I think it was Anodyne Coffee. They were promoting this event about having coffee with a cop or whatever. And great idea for people that want to go out of their way to do that, but they used an AI flyer. And anyone that knows that coffee shop knows that a bunch of local creatives work in those coffee shops. And they could have very easily asked one of their employees to make that flyer in one night and I can't get behind the cutting corners in certain areas of AI.
Yeah, it's a difficult time to be in, because I feel like a lot of places are encouraging AI, and it's constantly like, do I want to get in with everyone else and do just as good as with everyone else? Or do I want to like boycott this thing because it's like selling out creators? Like in the coffee shop example that you mentioned, it's difficult, especially like in my experience, the last like 2 years of my classes, I'm an electronic media major, so it's basically like film. The school really like prioritizes like journalism, but you can still do for film. But the last 2 years, I've been taking video classes and like film classes, and even though it doesn't explicitly say it in like the description, I've gone into these classes and just like sat through like 2-hour-long videos of like literally like, if you don't get in with AI, it's gonna take your job and you're gonna fall out of your job. So like, why are you even in college? And I'm sitting there like, are you serious? Like, I'm literally watching this right now, and it's not even an AI class. So like the entire semester will just be AI. And the college has actually just released an AI major. It feels like it's all happening so fast. Because it's so deep in the curriculum, I feel like I have no choice but to like actually use it, which is very, very like, I don't know. I don't like how it's kind of required now. Like, if you don't use AI in your assignment, you like lose points, which is it's rough.
Yeah, you go back, don't want to make myself feel old again, but 15 to 20 years ago, sitting in math class, there were certain math classes that were like, you can't use a calculator.
Yeah.
Because you need to learn how to do it before the calculator becomes super accessible to you. And now it's kind of the reverse. It's kind of like, let technology do it first, and then if you want to learn it later, do that on your own time. And it
exactly
just doesn't make much sense.
I'm in this class right now. It's a new class this year. It's like AI and communication. And it's talking about how AI is integrated in the communication field. So now you don't have to do this part of creation. You can just think of the idea and make AI do it. And I was like, doesn't that just make our degree obsolete? Like, why are we promoting this when it's literally just doing our work for us? Like, what happened to like the age of like technology where even if you used one word from another piece of work, it was plagiarism? I feel like we've come, maybe not even come so far, like fell so much more behind, and we've lost so much progress just from AI. And I get that like in some areas it can be beneficial and it can be nice to have, maybe even for like saving time or like other things, but like it personally, I think that like saving time is not beneficial in the long run if you think about like the long-term effects, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally running people out of jobs. My partner is a coder. He's a computer science major, so he works with a lot of software, and a lot of the stuff that he's seeing right now is how businesses don't need coders anymore because they just tell AI to do it. And of course, like, there's creation like only people can do, but like it can make it really easy for businesses and corporations to not want to hire people who have gone to school for 4 years and spent all that money just to not even land a job in the field because of this artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I did when I first moved up here, I started working for Fail Army, which is like one of the original YouTube channels, and I was there for 7 months, and the whole 7 months that I was there, I was training the AI to replace the whole crew. And like, I didn't realize that until I was halfway through the job, but I was cataloging 40 hours a week and geotagging and keywording every video that was in their system, only for them to completely erase that job once I quit. And now the AI just does all that for them.
I feel like there's been so many movies and stuff that have literally been predicting like our demise, and yet people don't recognize that like life is literally repeating art. You know, like art reflects reality, but now reality is reflecting art. And if you have your eyes open, you can see that this is gonna like, I don't want to think about it, but I feel like we're literally building the thing that's going to destroy us.
Oh yeah, I keep telling people that there's a politician I really like right now, James Tallarico, and he's from Texas. And I think he's one of the few Democrats to come into politics in the past 10 years that Republicans that are on the fence would consider, because he's a white Christian. And I have a really bad feeling that he's going to be under a cheating scandal or some kind of scandal that would go against the church, and it would be strictly AI. And I think that the reason why politicians haven't regulated it is because they can always use that as an excuse later down the road. And I think that that's going to happen in the next election.
Yeah, AI it's terrible, especially for that kind of stuff, because people are only going to believe what they want to believe, whether it's real or not. So the fact that AI is so easy to manipulate and make things look real when they're not, or make things look not real when they are real, it's, especially in the political climate, it's really, really bad.
Yeah, they're definitely going to use it to benefit them somehow. They just haven't yet. Or that we know of. I'm sure they have. We just don't know.
How do you manage your work-life balance while working full-time and still developing your own projects on the side?
I don't know. I'm a madman. I feel like there's some days where I have no drive to do anything, and then there's some days where I stay up till 5 a.m., because I'm getting in that, mindset of just doing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Reading has definitely helped my creative flow, but there are some days where it just feels like a chore to write anything down.
Yeah.
And then there are other days where I just want to go and make business and make everything work. And when I actually filmed the podcast with your partner, it was at 8:30 a.m. Look at your cat on the bookshelf. My cat does the same thing. But anyways, I scheduled the podcast with your partner at 8:30 a.m. And I think being on my computer late at night, the night before, I was like working on the podcast and getting things ready, and I feel like I was probably still drinking my coffee at that point, so I was still awake. But I was like, okay, I got to film this at 8:30 in the morning. That's going to take me 3 hours, and then I have another interview. So it's just a long day. And ultimately, I laid down at like 2 in the morning. Didn't fall asleep. I was still up at 4, and I was like, okay, well, it doesn't pay to just lay here. There's stuff to do. So I just got up, made more coffee, sat back down at my computer, and worked throughout the day again. And I feel like being a creator, I had an interview with someone else during this season, and they were talking about how leaving their corporate job and working a 9 to 5, they switched from the 9 to 5 to working 24 hours of the day. And there is a realistic trait to that. Like, you do work nonstop, but I feel like there's just another level of fulfillment. But that being said, it can be really hard to balance work and life while you're building your own brand and business.
It's also, you get to a point where it's like you question what is the priority versus what isn't the priority, and that's a big factor in it. Is like, do I stay up all night and write 6 to 10 pages tonight, or do I follow up and reach out to 20 or 30 people trying to push whatever I'm trying to push? And you have to know when and where to prioritize things.
Yeah. So what is your networking philosophy like? How do you consistently get gigs in commercial work nowadays?
I would say you always stay in a good mood. Everyone's very aware that the production assistants or assistants in any field are doing a lot of the work, and it's very deflating, being the most underpaid person on set and then doing the majority of work and also being there an hour before everyone and an hour after everyone leaves. So keeping a good level head and being very happy with everyone, that is a big reason to stay on set. And a lot of people want to keep those people around, because even if you're fresh and you don't have a lot of set experience, which was me when I moved out here, my personality kept me on the set, and then I was able to learn and get better at my craft because I was on set. What
experiences do you draw inspiration from in terms of staying motivated on sets like that, where you don't really feel like you're getting paid the most, or you kind of feel a little underappreciated?
It comes down to, do I want to go back to waiting tables or not? And that's kind of my driving force for staying in a good, positive mindset, because whenever I was waiting tables, we would serve 3,000 people a day. So for 10 hours a day, you were constantly putting up with whatever 50 to 60 people that you had in your section. So that kind of taught me how to keep my head level. And then I got on a film set, and it was like, you see some people freak out about the smallest things, and you're just like, okay, don't freak out about that, because if I notice that they're overreacting, the director and the assistant director definitely notices, because they're looking for that kind of stuff. So kind of being the one that never gets deflated is a big part of it.
Moving into social commentary and political performance art, I feel like, especially nowadays, people are always talking about how everything is political. There's running, there's all these mundane tasks that people are bringing attention to and saying that they are political. And yet, creators who highlight that often face immense backlash. So what's your take? Do you think filmmaking and creating art in itself is inherently political?
I think art is the most political field that you could chase after. Even if you do, if you want to go out of your way to avoid being political, you still somehow end up being political. For instance, look at Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel is the most famous child star in the world right now. No one is as big as her right now. And even she knows that at the end of the day, it is political because the people that she is making this art for are being politically affected in communities like Gaza. So you really can't avoid it. And I think trying to avoid it only makes the problem worse. So I would say art is definitely political no matter what.
What drew you to your work in political performance art? Tell us a little about that.
Probably the chip on my shoulder from my family. I think just kind of having those opinions about the family that I don't really talk to as much anymore. It makes me want to be an even louder voice on the opposing side. Like working at the RNC, I was originally hired to help with this display that specifically called out Project 2025. And we had a building right beside the entrance of the RNC, and it was between the hotels that they were staying at and the actual entrance because you couldn't stay in the zone. So all of them rented the hotels around the zone, and we had an art display that was right by the entrance. So they had no choice but to walk by our art display. And the whole intent of the production was for them to look at the art display and to see it firsthand, to see what the effects are. And by day 2 or 3 of that job, I was just chopping it up with the assistant director about my political involvement. And they asked me if I wanted to be a fake Trumper during the RNC, and I would go out of my way to speak to people that were at the RNC and to try to get their respect or get them to trust me. And then once they trusted me, I would ask them to sign a waiver to talk about more political things. And then our director would swoop in and send me away after they signed the release, and they would interview them about the actual topic, which was Project 2025.
How did you go about navigating making politically charged content while also maintaining relationships with people who disagree with you?
I'm kind of at the point that I don't fully care what those people think. I think a lot of them don't have the respect for art in the first place. So even if I wasn't making anything political, I don't think that they would support me the way that the people in my political mindset do. I think I found value in the people that I've met in Milwaukee and around Milwaukee, and that's kind of my audience now. My audience is no longer Southeast Missouri because a lot of them don't support the art.
Yeah. It's no shock that watching news and a lot of this content can make life feel a little bit gloomy. So working in all this stuff and finding inspiration in all this stuff to your art, how do you stay informed without letting it consume your creativity?
I would say, unfortunately, it probably does consume a lot of my creativity. I think that's the intent behind our current administration, is that they want it to be so controversial that it does consume you, because if you take a hard stance on one thing, you're kind of turning a blind eye to the other bad thing that's happening. And I think that that's their intent. Trump had a manager slash best friend for a long time, and I forget his name, and his whole philosophy was controversy, 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 and as long as you're always bringing more controversy, you're ignoring other controversies. And it's kind of the whole abortion topic in our country. Is abortion was the one topic in our country that caused the most Christians to stay Republican forever. A lot of them will never change their mindset because of the abortion topic. Even though if you do the statistics and you do the research, the other side of the aisle benefits women long-term better. But it's just one of those things where if you can find a point for people to really hone in on and get annoyed with, they will ignore everything else.
Yeah. How do you protect your mental space while working in this area? Are there specific things that you try to do to ignore or kind of protect yourself against all of this?
Working on my own screenplays, I would say I do a good job of, if it's not political, it's not political at all. My most recent feature, it's about the Beast of Bray Road, and there's not a single political point that can be made in the film. So I think getting in the mindset of ignoring it all and just trying to hone in on my own work makes it a lot easier.
Tell us about the Beast of Bray Road. What drove you to do that? And what's it?
On July 5th last year, Wisconsin agreed to pass film incentives for January 1st, 2026. And I moved from Missouri the same year that Missouri film incentives passed. So I was kind of like, oh, I missed the buck there. I didn't really get to benefit from that. So I did research, and I've noticed that most projects that use the film incentives first are low budget horror movies. So I decided I wanted to write one like that day. I was like, I need to figure one out. I want to write a low budget horror. So I did a bunch of research about local cryptids and folklores around the state of Wisconsin, because I knew that I also wanted to base it in Wisconsin, because I knew if I pitched the idea of something that already exists, people will be more passionate about the subject. So I started writing July 5th, and I had my full 90-page draft done by the end of the month.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's called Wild Horses, and it's based off the Beast of Bray Road, which the original artist who did the biggest collection of Beast of Bray Road folklore, she passed away during the pandemic.
Linda Godfrey,
Yep.
right?
So there's another guy in the area, I already forgot his name, but he does a good job of, keeping her legacy alive. He goes to all these events, and he pushes her book, and he make sure that more people know about who she is.
I think I can't remember if I got in touch with him or not when I was building that Beast of Bray Road thing. I found that there's a lot of different sides to the Beast of Bray Road. Like, there's people who live on the road. Like, I talked to Lee Hamble, who lives on the farm. His property resides on Bray Road on the further side. And then there's other people who push the Beast of Bray Road, which some people really push that just for fame, and they're not really looking for getting the information out there. So you really have to, it's really touch and go with who you get in contact, but it's a really interesting story, so I can't wait to see that.
I actually named one of my main characters Godfrey.
That's amazing. It's gonna go down in history for sure.
I hope so.
Has that come out yet?
No, so it's only a screenplay right now. So my intent this year, my main intent is to sell a screenplay of mine. I write a bunch of shorts. Last year, 2 of my shorts went into production. So I'm at the point now where I need to get over the slump and actually just get through a feature. So I wrote my first feature. I had a table read for it in November. So I've been editing it ever since. But March, I want to submit it to the Blacklist. And the Blacklist is a website that independent writers can use to upload their scripts. And once you hit a certain score, they will host your script for free, and then all the industry insiders use that website to find independent screenplays that aren't connected to agents. So the goal is to submit next month and hope for a score high enough to stay on the website.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you.
How different has been writing a feature film versus your experience in short films?
Oh, it's a huge hill to climb. Like with a short film, an idea comes to me, and then I automatically say, all right, can I do this in 10 pages? And you can knock out 10 pages in one night pretty easily. At least I can.
Yeah.
But with a feature, it's automatic 90 pages or more. So it's like, outlining is huge, because with short films, I don't really outline. But with a feature, I couldn't imagine hitting 90 pages without a proper outline. So I've taught myself how to outline, pacing. It's all just a huge hill to climb. And it's been a struggle, but I'm very proud of how it turned out. But I'm definitely thinking of my next idea for another feature, because I need to stop writing short films at this point.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, especially with getting paid in the film industry. I feel like a lot of the money is in long-term content and long-form content, that is, and feature films. So in terms of getting the support and resources to make a feature film, what do you think is really important to build that? What resources and support do you still need to make that feature film?
I would
Differing from like a shorter one.
Shorts, I just did a short in November, and I raised $2,000 for it, and that paid for all equipment, that paid for all the food, and then I was able to find friends that would volunteer their time to show up and work for free for a day. With features, I don't even consider that, because features are such a huge feat that I would feel bad for asking any of my friends to work for free. Because to me, the whole intent behind doing short films is to build your team of people that just want to create no matter what. And you can find a lot of volunteer work that way, because everyone has the same mindset. We just want to create, we want to build a team, we want to hone our craft in certain areas on set. With a feature, I would feel so bad asking someone to work for 3 to 4 weeks, volunteers. So building that trust in the community, and then I don't know, trying to find investors that would fund the idea. With the film incentives, they officially launched 2 days ago. So with the film incentives now in our state, at least whenever I go to pitch this idea to somebody, I can say, Wisconsin will pay you back 30% of whatever you spend. So that's another huge part of the pitch, is knowing that as of this year, Wisconsin now incentivizes filmmakers to come and actually do stuff here.
I'd love to hear more about that too. And it really correlates with like what you've been working on this year, right? You launched your own live table read service.
Yeah, it's called Voices Off Paper, and we take a locally written feature or pilot and we cast it based off of a pool of local actors that we have, and we're going to do that once a month in person, and we're going to do it at a brand new studio that opens up on March 1st called the Wisconsin Production Collective, which is in Brookfield, and we'll use that space to introduce actors to other filmmakers in the city. You know, a bunch of lighting guys, camera guys. They're all going to be there in attendance during this read, so after the read, these actors can network with people on film sets, because if you're not repped by the two big talent agencies in Milwaukee, you're not meeting these filmmakers. You know, it's very hard.
Right.
There's no connection between the two, and that's the big reason for me launching this group, was seeing that that's a really good way to connect actors and actual filmmakers.
This read's coming up too.
Yeah, it's going to be at the end of March. We have a job at the studio that we don't fully know the date for that job, so I'm trying to work around when that job solidifies their date. But like the last 2 weeks of March, it'll be.
What do you think this program brings to Milwaukee that the city didn't have before?
A networking opportunity that doesn't rely solely on us just sitting at a table at a restaurant talking to each other, because I've been to a couple local film, you know, get-togethers and screenwriter get-togethers, and it's always the same thing. If you walk into the room and you already know 90% of the people, what are you going to get out of that? You know, it sucks to be that way, but as a screenwriter, you're not getting anything to teach you or to motivate you to write more by sitting at a restaurant talking about your favorite movie. And as fun as that is, there's no benefit to that aside from networking. And screenwriters definitely don't need networking as much as they need motivation to write more. And I think motivation to write more means way more than networking if you're a writer.
I 100%
with these
agree.
table reads, because I do an online version every Tuesday night, and that's based in LA. And every time I get done with a read, I'm like, all right, now I want to go write. Now all those ideas that they just had, I want to see if I could toy with that idea in my own script. And it motivates you to write by reading other screenplays.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. I feel like even like just reading books or anything, honestly just hearing what other people have to say and seeing their ideas, I think it just ultimately makes us more creative.
Yeah, because, and another thing is like, if I want to go and hear what other screenwriters have to say about, you know, their ideas or their favorite movies, I can just look that up on YouTube, and I could go find someone that has a lot of experience and listen to them. The whole idea with Voices Off Paper is that we walk into a room and we are reading a script for 2 hours, and you are sitting there and there's nothing besides that. You're making notes, you're taking notes, and then once the script read actually ends, you can choose to stay with the script doctors and talk with the writers, and you can actually learn how different levels of editors give notes. And I think a lot of those notes that you'll hear, you can consider those for your own stories that you're writing.
Morally, Adam, why do you think it's important to cast local actors and hold these readings in Milwaukee locations?
Because that keeps people in Milwaukee. The reality of it is every time you meet someone that has a little bit of a success in the film scene here, they always move to Chicago.
Right.
I think keeping people in a small market will eventually, you know, create better films. Because I worked on a feature in May of last year, and like 30% of us were local, and it was very obvious that they could have done way better if they hired way more locals. And with this film room, it gives you the opportunity to go in and you could find actors easier that don't have that opportunity, because, you know, there's always diamonds in the rough. The Holdovers that came out 2 years ago, Dominic Sessa, he was the main actor, the kid in the movie, and before that he had never had film experience ever. And then he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And it was because they cast strictly from the town that they were filming in. And now he's a star.
Right.
You know, now he's on his like 5th feature film ever since then.
I feel like it's beneficial for the writers too. Like it's like when you're talking to your partner and getting input about her view on your characters and how you're kind of like writing yourself into the script. I feel like writers can get very good input from these actors and actresses because not only would they add personality to the character, but they also see things from a different light, whereas you wouldn't if you were just looking at it over and over yourself.
Another part of it too is we always have a narrator that reads the script, you know, and we have the same narrator in the online version, and her name is Peggy, and she's phenomenal. She's a great narrator, but you'll get 30 to 40 pages into a script and you'll notice that Peggy is constantly like, or taking a drink or taking breaks, and that automatically tells the writer that you're overwriting your actions. If your narrator can't keep up, you need more dialogue. And that's another key aspect of it all, is a lot of early writers, beginner writers, write a lot of action and not enough dialogue.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I know it's very different in terms of like literary writing versus screenwriting. It's different if you're writing a book than it is if you're writing a screenplay. And there are some things that really stay, like show not tell. It's really important to do that in films. You can't just have the character arc, tell the audience their character arc and not show it, you know? So that's really good feedback. I think that is really important to the writers, not only, but also just for the production itself.
Yeah. And a lot of times you'll have an actor at the end of the read say, every line that I read did nothing for the story. Every line that I said, it added nothing. And that tells the writer, like, okay, on this next pass through, I need to focus solely on this character. I need to give them value in everything that they say, because if they're saying nothing that adds to the story, then what's the point of them being there?
Yeah. Well, it seems like this table read is doing really good for you. Last time we talked, you said you already had 40 actors signed up, which is amazing.
Yep. We have 40 actors.
What
we
is
have
that?
about 5 features. Well, one's a pilot, but we have 5 scripts submitted. So if I wanted to plan out the next 5 months, I could easily just do that. But I think that doing 1 or 2 first and then getting some kind of BTS in there will cause a chain reaction of a lot more submissions. And I think that the submissions will have a lot more value and more people will seek it out. The first one's going to be kind of a trial for a lot of people, even though I do an online version a lot. I've never done it in person. So I think once people see the actual footage and pictures and videos of us in action doing it, it'll get more people to want to be involved.
What does seeing all these people want to get involved in getting involved with this craft show you about the response level?
I would say I was very shocked to see so many actors reach out. I thought it was going to be a bunch of my film friends. I thought it was going to be them just supporting me, but I have way more actors than I would have ever imagined. And it tells me that actors are kind of dying for more exposure in our area. They're dying for more experiences. And that's kind of what it showed me. There's not a clear path to collaboration if you're not doing workshops like this.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're doing really good in this field, and I really commend you for all your artistic work, especially working immense hours and also producing stuff on your own. Aroma Vision, I don't know if the audience has heard about this. What is a brief description of Aroma Vision? Aroma Vision, my bad.
I will start first where it originated from. During the pandemic, I took a screenwriting course for the first time ever, and I just had really no expectations going in, and I fell in love with it. So one of our assignments was to write a short film where the protagonist has no line of dialogue. So I came up with the idea called Smell TV, and it was about this television program that basically spoke to the protagonist and kind of pushed the protagonist through the story. And when we got on Top Chef 7 years later, we were in the last 2 weeks of set and we were tearing things down, and we were talking about we won't see a majority of this crew ever again because they're going to go to New York or LA. The 40 to 50 of us production assistants, you know, how do we stay in touch with each other outside of Instagram? And I was like, let's do a short film in a couple weeks. And then someone was like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And I said, I got a couple ideas at home. You know, I can go home, you know, take an old idea, rewrite it and bring it back. So that night I went home and I grabbed Smell TV and I rewrote it that night. And then I came back and I said, all right, guys, here's a script, you know, here's an option. And we had about 4 different options. And then we had one guy raise his hand, I'll direct it. We had another guy raise his hand and say, I'll do this. And we ended up filling our crew in the back of a box truck on the Top Chef set. And there was a core of like 6 of us at first, and then we took that idea and then we just started reaching out to as many people as we could find in the area that would be interested in doing a short film. And the first day it was a very small-ish crew, and then by the time that the production ended, I think we have 41 filmmakers on set all together over a 6-day filming schedule. And I'd say out of the 41, 39 of us still live and work in Milwaukee. So it was all, Milwaukee talent, and all of our actors were from Milwaukee. And the idea is that a cooking network introduces this new television that emits scent, and you can watch these cooking shows and you can smell what they're cooking. And they use that to hypnotize viewers. And that's the whole idea of Aromavision, is that they use that TV. And it's based off of Smellorama or Smell-O-Vision, which was introduced in the 50s and it never went anywhere. So it was based off of that idea.
It all sounds super interesting. I can't wait to see it. I watched the trailer and that's where I saw your partner in it. It's so captivating, and you can tell that it's a good film, because I feel like one thing that I've always noticed is that you can tell that something is really good if you're not looking at how long it is and it's over before you realize it. So like, you could watch something that's 5 minutes long and it be absolutely terrible and you're constantly checking the timeline, but if it's really good and captivating, you're not gonna realize 5 minutes has gone by until it's over, Yeah. And that's how I felt with watching the trailer.
Yeah, it's the final product is exactly 11 minutes, and it's really cool because it's about a TV. A lot of the shots are as if you're watching the TV, so whenever we actually premiere it in festivals on the big screen, it just fits because you feel like you're the protagonist watching the TV, and we intentionally did that, so it kind of makes the audience feel like they're at the same risk of being hypnotized as anyone else.
What changed between the original script and now?
Basing it in Milwaukee, so we made a point to make sure that Milwaukee was the actual setting of the film. We filmed at Leon's Frozen Custard, which is one of the most iconic custard stands in the city, and we made him a brewery worker, so that's very Milwaukee. And our protagonist actually had lines of dialogue, so when I rewrote it, I actually gave him more of a character. And then I changed the name.
That's really important.
The name was the big change because Smell TV just kind of felt weird.
No, I like Aromavision a lot. How did brainstorming that title come to you? Are you the kind of person that sticks with a title, like you create it from the beginning and then stick with it throughout the thing, or do you find inspiration and write the title after you write the script?
I have the same process every time. I write my title, I write my log line, and then I kind of write certain beats that I want to hit. The beat that I wanted to hit with that was that we over rely on technology, and that a lot of us are just willing to just go with whatever the TV tells us to do. And that's kind of what I do. I stick with the same title until I find a random idea when I'm writing, and then I'll change the title if that random idea sounds better.
Aromavision is set to premiere soon, right? But you can't. I think I remember you talking to you, and you were saying that it was in film festivals. 25, which I last talked to you, which is very impressive. So between the premiere coming up soon and already being in so many different film festivals and opportunities, what does that milestone mean to you personally?
This is the first time that I have taken any production of mine and actually put it in the festival scene. I'm the type of person that doesn't really like the festival scene because, as being somewhat introverted, you have to go out of your way to just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And that's the good thing about festivals is that you're constantly networking. So whenever I realized that we had 40 locals on this, there was no debate about doing the festival scene, because that gives us an opportunity to invite our friends and family, to go out of our way to network. And it means a lot because we're getting a really cool recognition out of it. It feels cool to write and produce something and people actually enjoy it, and people want to go out of their way to sit in a theater and watch it, which is really cool. And our first premiere, so we've got a couple festivals that have offered us a premiere, but we're kind of basing our acceptance on if Milwaukee Film Festival will show our film or not, because we want that to be our premiere. And if we can show it in the other two festivals that have offered it to us and still be eligible for the Milwaukee Film Festival, then our first premiere will be mid-March. But if the Milwaukee Film Festival tells us it disqualifies us, then our first premiere will be at the Milwaukee Film Festival in mid-April. So mid-March or mid-April, we're just waiting on what Milwaukee Film Festival says, because we want to prioritize that because that's the biggest festival in the whole state.
Right, and it's where the film takes place in Milwaukee, so it'd only be authentic there, you know? What were the hardest parts of getting it off the ground? From writing it to casting it to creating it and then producing it?
Our biggest challenge was our lead actor ghosted us on day one. So Our lead actor, we found somebody from Chicago, and on day one, we had the whole set ready, we had the whole crew ready, and then it was just excuse after excuse after excuse for why he wasn't going to show up. So us producers went into a private room, and we were like, all right, guys, what do we do? So our solution was that we cut a scene that involved a side character, and we offer the main role to that side character. And he accepted, and he became our new lead, and he killed it. He was phenomenal. Like, he was the perfect person for the job from the get-go. But it was that whole scary feeling of, what do we do? You know, like, we're all here, what do we do next? And then he showed up like an hour later, and he dedicated 6 days to it. And I think that was definitely the biggest hurdle that we had throughout the whole production. Was when you have a bunch of people volunteering their time for free, there's nothing that keeps them in it besides their own, motivation.
Right.
So that was a big one.
Being a filmmaker, you have to be really good at problem solving, especially on the spot. So I really commend your team for jumping over that hurdle and doing such a great job on it.
Well, that's the joke we all made, was that you really can't make excuses with filmmakers, because we always can find a solution. And every excuse that he threw our way of why he wasn't going to show up, we provided a solution, and then he had another excuse. So then it got to the point where we were just like, all right, guys, just stop contacting him. He's not a part of the project anymore. Obviously, his mind is not in it the way that ours are. So let's find someone else that will prioritize this project, and we did. And our lead actor, his name is Max Williamson, and he's now one of my closest friends up here. And he's somebody that everyone in the industry knows that if you need someone to show up, he's one of those people that will always show up.
I mean, that's how you build your career, and he's definitely doing a good job with it, especially he was known around Milwaukee like that.
Yeah.
How does actively promoting this film look like while balancing your full-time commercial and other creative work?
It's a chore. I'm kind of always, I will do 12 to 16 hours on a set, and then I'll go to my room or my house and work on my, side projects. And you kind of just have to have that drive in order to do it. If you don't have the drive to do it, it will become overwhelming, and then you're just going to lose all of your motivation.
How do you motivate yourself in positioning yourself in this new landscape of Wisconsin and film?
Always getting things done kind of motivates me to do another thing. I think the hardest part about being a filmmaker is having the idea and then also doing the idea. And I'm very strict with, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And once it's done, it's time to move on to the next thing, because that's what producers are looking for. That's what investors are looking for. They're looking for people that don't, stop doing it. People that, if something turns out bad, at least it's done, move on to the next thing. You could always learn from whatever you do, and just the drive to just continuously do is what's keeping me in the market, I think.
Milwaukee has made some serious advancements over the last couple of years in film, and I commend all of the filmmakers in that area because they play a large part in that. But what do you think the city still needs to become a stronger filmmaking city?
More studios. I'm in the process of helping launch a studio in the Brookfield area, and everyone that's in the market has come and toured the studio, and they're all just like, why didn't this happen 20 years ago? Why are private companies like Northwestern Mutual owning their own studio, but they're not letting people come in and use it? More collaboration. I think, as much as I love and respect Milwaukee Film, I wish there was more of a way for them to make productions happen, opposed to talking about films. A lot of their success is in a podcast or showing awesome films that don't get shown, but that's not really putting freelancers to work the way that I really want it to. And I do think that they are in a weird financial state ever since the pandemic. It seems like most arts are in a weird financial space, but more opportunities to collaborate is what Milwaukee desperately needs.
I agree. 100%.
More workshops, that would be really nice. Getting someone to come in every once in a while and teach the aspiring electricians, what to do around water or the snow. A lot of us don't get those opportunities on set, because if you ask somebody, why are you doing this? They can get pulled the opposite way in the middle of teaching you. And I think more workshops will really make a lot of the young and aspiring filmmakers in our city value the city more.
I agree. Moving into the last category of questions. This is more about personal philosophy and just you in general. And I've done this question a couple times. It's always a really exciting question, but I feel like it's something that is really important to ask everybody. If you could give a younger Adam one piece of advice, what would it be? And it could be middle school, elementary school, toddler, high school, college. It could be literally anything.
I would say don't be afraid to make yourself look like a fool, because at the end of the day, everyone has to go through that humiliating part of your artistic journey of you're gonna make stuff that people aren't gonna like. You're gonna make stuff that doesn't look good, doesn't sound good, but you have to be willing to just roll with it. You have to be willing to get only 5 or 10 likes on a post that you worked 5 to 10 days on. It's the constant teaching yourself that as long as you're getting better at it. And I think a lot of people get deflated once they work really hard at something and then it goes nowhere, and then they just like, I just wasted my time. I think stop looking at it as a waste of the time, because if you can find value in anything that you work on, it's really not a waste of time.
I agree, and there's always going to be someone that's wearing you down. You don't want to be that person for yourself, otherwise you're never going to accomplish something.
Yeah.
That's ultimately the biggest hurdle, in my opinion, that you have to jump over in terms of your career, because if you constantly belittle yourself in your career and don't think that you're going to make things, you're not going to. And that's the same thing with like every career. If you don't have the drive to make it big or finish what you're looking to do, you're not going to do it. So that's definitely a really important piece of advice for anyone in that field, or any field in general.
Well, with like my table read group, I think I've hit up maybe 100 people in our city, and I've only heard back from about 15 of them. And then I know that once they see the success of a couple table reads, then they're going to respond to me. And I don't think of it as, oh, they're never going to respond to me. I think of it as they're eventually going to respond to me. It's just maybe not right now.
Right. What is your top priority when it comes to making your work and like the moral aspects of that?
Being a safe space for everyone at every level of production. There's a need for more female directors. There's a need for more female DPs. So finding people in those fields is very beneficial to keeping a safe space. As long as people know that you're willing to consider that, they're going to be more willing to show up and help you, because they know that you're also trying to provide the same kind of space that they're trying to provide. In a market like this, it's really easy to ruin your reputation and then move to Chicago and start over. And I think it's very unfair to a lot of people, because there's no one holding each other accountable, because you can just move from market to market. And I think if you keep a lot of good people in your crew, people are going to want to stay here, because they're not going to want to run to a different city whenever they experience a really bad set.
Kind of a similar question. What do you want others to feel like when they're working with you or watching the content that you produce?
That we're always having fun. I mean, that's a big part of it. I think if you get in a situation to where one person is kind of not a good person, or they're not making it fun for other people, don't be afraid to just say, leave. The good thing about moving to this market is that I don't really care what those people think of me. I'm not afraid to say, no, you're not welcome here. It doesn't bother me one bit to be like that. And I think more people need to be that way. I think providing a space for everyone has its downfalls, because you're bumping elbows with people that aren't good people. And with Voices Off Paper, I've been very specific to certain people that I don't want you at these reads. And I don't care that you need the opportunity. If you're gonna harm anyone else that's there, you don't need to be there. And with this market, it's very easy to not know the true intentions of people, because if you don't work with them very often, you could be working with a very controversial person and you not even really know about it.
I agree 100%. We do need more people like that. I feel like a lot of people are, especially in this industry, where they're worried about their own fate. They're worried about stepping in other people's toes.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, of course, you need to avoid that as much as you can, but sometimes you don't have a choice. And in order to be successful and protect other people around you, you need to protect that peace. So I think that's a really important thing to say.
Yeah.
In closing, Adam, there are a few other questions. Where can our listeners follow your journey?
So Instagram is probably where I'm the most active, ADDEM Smith. It's a play on of Add Them, Adam Smith. We have Aromavision has its own page on Instagram, Aromavision TV, and I started a Substack about a year ago, and I write a bunch of short form stuff on Substack. And
love Substack.
One of my biggest pieces, which I think I really am going to try to get it published eventually, is about growing up in a homophobic Southeast Missouri with a lesbian mom, and how my experiences with homophobia helped make my friends less homophobic. I write about that. I write a bunch of random stuff, but I think I published 40 different Substacks last year. So Substack is Belly of the Whale. That's the name of my Substack. My website is wishingwhales.com, and wishing, the normal wishing, and then whales as it's in the animal whale.
Perfect. Moving forward, are there any specific dates or things that we can expect to see from you moving forward?
Once Aromavision hits its first premiere, we're going to have a lot of Aromavision talk. We have a couple interviews lined up with news stations, so you'll eventually see us pitch and push Aromavision on WTMJ. That's a big one that we're doing really soon. My table reads, I'm hoping that that picks up and more people in the community talk about that, and hopefully we get more coverage from local artists and news. And eventually I want to do my first feature film. I want to produce a feature film. I think I want to do a documentary, but I don't really know. I do know that I don't want to do any more shorts, so hopefully I do a feature next.
I believe that you will. You've already got so much working for you, and you've written so much stuff that you can definitely draw from. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited to hear that and see what you've got coming moving forward. Thank you for coming on here to speak with me today. I loved hearing your story, and I hope it felt really good to tell it.
Yeah, it did. Thank you for providing this space for me and other creatives that are kind of looking for more of this spaces.
Rory's Room is written and produced by myself, Rori Nicole, and you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Theme songs and background music were produced by TJ Borkenhagen. You can follow Rory's Room on Instagram, @Rory's Room, and follow me at itsrory_x for updates on the show and a few more glimpses into life behind the mic. The goal of this show is to share my story and the stories of others in a way that makes people feel a little less alone. The next episode will be on May 24th, 2026. Where we will be wrapping up our conversation with indie filmmaker and assistant director Amini Hoff. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all next time in Rory's Room.